again, you know, I don't know, man. That's why I don't like the meeting being
Thanks for the heads up on
formal. It's like, I'd rather
Not that we were
sit
saying
here and
anything
just
bad.
talk about what we want to talk about.
We pulled
Just talking about horse stuff.
Records on any synonyms of Aiken, Ocala.
Oh, yeah?
All the, yeah, I
That's
talked to
good.
the Ocala lady this morning,
Oh, cool.
I haven't even
I like
looked
it.
at it.
but it's all done through the
Are
county.
we good?
All good to go?
All righty. Julie is en route, so we'll go and get started, and then we'll label her as president once she shows up. So, well, good evening, everyone. I would like to call the regular meeting of the Milton Equestrian Committee to order for Wednesday, December 18th. The time is 6:32 p.m. As I call roll this evening, please confirm your attendance. Nan Buckner.
Here.
Teresa Jarmus.
Here.
Mac Plummer.
Here.
Shannon Regan-Quidley.
Here.
Tony Rich is here. Carson Seville.
Here.
And Julie Shannon is not here, but is en route. So for the record, we have a quorum. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Recite that at your physical.
Yeah, I
Uh,
know. Yeah, right?
Exactly. So our first item on the agenda tonight is the approval of our meeting agenda. Does anyone have any changes? If not, I will ask for a motion to approve the agenda for tonight.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting agenda, please.
I have a meeting from Nan. Can I get a second?
Second.
From Shannon, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, the agenda is approved. Next is approval of our past meeting minutes. Everyone should have a copy of that in front of you tonight. If you could take a quick moment and take a look. If you have any questions, please let us know. Otherwise, I'd like a motion to approve our minutes.
Motion to approve past meeting minutes.
All right, Carson has made a motion. Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
Dan has given a second. All in favor?
All right,
Aye.
Aye. Our minutes are approved. Emily, do we have any public comment tonight?
We do.
All right. All right, well, let me read this statement. I don't get to read this statement very often. General public comment is a time for citizens to share information with the Milton Equestrian Committee and provide input and opinions on any matter that is not scheduled on tonight's agenda. Each citizen who chooses to participate in public comment must complete a comment card and submit it to the city liaison prior to the agenda item being called. When your name is called, please come forward, speak into the microphone, and state your name and address for the record. You'll have 5 minutes for remarks. Would you like to call the first speaker?
Our first public comment is Greg Ratched. All public comment tonight.
Greg, you're the highlight of the night, so we're glad you're
Yeah,
here.
I'm sure it's inspiring.
Can you wait 2 seconds and we'll let Ms. Shannon join us? That way
No problem.
we can all hear your words of wisdom for us. Hi, Julie.
Sure I'd go that far.
Hi, Julie.
For the record, Julie Shannon is here and we have a full attendance tonight, so congratulations. I'm not missing anybody.
We're all here.
All right, Greg, go right ahead. Thank you.
My topic incorporates the question.
Give us your name and address for the
Oh,
record,
Greg
please.
Rafton, 610 Knox Hill Drive
Thank you.
in Milton. I came to one of the meetings and one of the strategic folks talked about the incentives for keeping the large lots. A lot of discussion. There were like 8 different points about what this was all about and how it was going to be done. And I scratched my head a little bit about that. And then I came again to the council meeting where that topic was an agenda item, and she presented much the same the things that she presented to you all when I was here the last time. And I still was scratching my head, and as I walked out, and 2 gentlemen came out there on their way out to their cars with me, and they were obviously here about that topic. And so we started talking. One was a gentleman who had 30 acres and no horses, and he was very interested in the incentives for this question for any large lot, and not necessarily an equestrian focus to it. And the other fellow was like a 1.5 acres, but he really was a champion of the look and feel of Milton with this large acreage and all of that kind of stuff. And all of us were kind of like, the incentives in here are kind of odd. I mean, they just don't ring true to kind of normal people. I mean, they focus on certainly challenged equestrians and maybe challenged farm folks. And there were other kinds of circumstances that seem to be apparent in that incentives. But I didn't know how to come back or at some way to kind of talk about this aspect of the incentives, not doing much to create an inspiration. And I don't know where it's going in the course of things. And I got the sense that you all didn't find some of the things particularly interesting as far as providing that service. But one of the things that I was thinking about when I was, the other day, I was driving back, and one of the things that both makes this an equestrian feel and makes it a farm community is the 4-board fence. And I was driving, I think New Providence or somewhere, and I was watching, and I was looking like half of them were well kept and looked really great. Other of them were gray, falling apart. It was like, and then I drove a couple other areas, and it's almost like I would think an interesting incentive both to help the big lots where they have all these giant, fences to be taken care of, and also for the incentives to retain the brand of the equestrian aspects of the community, that there'd be some incentives or some system set up to facilitate keeping at least the frontage parts of the 4-board fences taken care of by the city, rather than, because it is such an integral part of the cityscape or the small townscape. And it leaves, I think, a pretty significant burden on the people who are just kind of, now it's my obligation to take care. I don't have any fence on, a gravel road isn't going to get much fencing, but it's a pain in the, well, everyone knows it's a pain to take care of your fences, and it would be some incentive in some way that could help the equestrian community, but also help the larger acreage community, and also keep Milton kind of fulfilling its obligation to be this equestrian branded community. So I think that was all, unless you have some questions that I need to answer. Did I do my 5
Interesting.
minutes?
No, thanks for sharing that feedback. I mean, in theory, our meetings aren't necessarily supposed to be question and answer sessions. However, I will say that I appreciate, your comment. I appreciate the fact that you took the time to listen to the presentation, on large lot incentives. As you know, from your regular attendance to our meetings, it's something that we spend a fair amount of time on. Carson and Shannon specifically spent a fair amount of time talking to staff and, with our committee just on, how important these incentives are. And I agree with you. I think the 4-board fence is a landmark of our city. And, there's a lot of discussion out there about 3-board versus 4-board fence. And I usually try to avoid that. Whatever,
all of these issues.
But I do agree that it is really nice when it's well kept. And I agree, it's a real pain in the neck to take care of it because it never seems to stop. But thanks for sharing that with us. You always bring some good ideas to the table, and thanks for coming tonight. So, anybody have any comments or discussion points on that? That was easy.
Other than I like that idea.
I mean, I like the idea too. I'd like to see a little bit more, what's the word? Congruency among fences, like if you look at the fencing in that neighborhood across from Cambridge High School, it's not really 4-board fences. It has 4 boards. Right. But the appeal of that, me as a horse owner, is nil. Because I know that's not real fencing. I tend to kind of, when I look at someone who's building fence and I go, oh, they put the posts on the inside. That's a big pet peeve of mine.
Oh,
but, I'd like to see, a little bit more, everyone's fencing look the same then, but some people have white vinyl fencing. So what are you going to do?
I think it's a great idea, but I think the city's going to put in a real bind if we were to do that, because you got one guy that's got barbed wire fence that wants a 4-board and applies. The next guy just needs 2 boards fixed. The next one needs it painted. And how do you prioritize those to see who gets it and who doesn't?
Well, and like in my case, I don't have any frontage of fence. So I'm like, hey, well, you're giving that to them. What are you giving me?
Now, I will say I've had conversations with, I think it's Georgia Soil and Water, but they do a grant program, and they will give grants to fence, like not the perimeter, but if you cross fence, so that you're doing, what's it called, rotational grazing. I had another guy that got a grant to not let his horses in the creek. So put a fence through there to keep manure out of the creek. But I've already gone down that road, and you have to qualify, and your income is, it's based on revenues plus your income.
Right.
So the farms that are really struggling and don't have the money to pay for that type of fencing is who they usually give the grants to.
Well, that's nice.
A lot
There's
of
a
people up here
grant
might not
money for that.
qualify.
Yeah.
Well, I also think the good news is that, when people are developing new property, we do have a process to get a fence permit. And-
It's very easy.
Doesn't necessarily mean that everybody follows the process and gets a permit. One of my neighbors actually put up a whole bunch of fence and goes, "Oh, I need a permit." Thankfully, they did it the right way, so the permit was just a document. They didn't have to tear anything down. But I like the idea of creating an incentive around that. I think the challenge is if you look at the fencing that is allowed in Milton versus that's not. I mean, I think there's a fair amount of discretion on the style. I think you can do 3-board fence, 4-board fence. You can do cross rails, or you can do whatever, and it can be black or brown, or So, I'm not sure it would be a great idea to have everybody's fence look 100% the same. It would look a lot like an HOA then,
Yeah.
but which I don't think anybody is really in favor of. But I like the idea of creating incentive to keep it looking nice, because trust me, it's a challenge every day to keep our fence, because every horse that has an itch somehow or another likes to break fence
Or
boards.
trees are my problem.
Everything.
Trees
Yeah.
constantly.
Trees.
Yeah. So anyway, but I think you bring up a great point, and it'll certainly be something that we'll put into our discussions for the large lot incentive. So thanks for that. So, Emily, do you have any other public comment? Is there anybody hiding out there that I didn't see?
We
All
do
right.
not.
Well, if that's the case, we'll move on to our next agenda item. Looks like item number 6 is typically subcommittee reports versus public comment.
Typo.
That's okay. Yeah. You did ask me to review the agenda, so oops, I missed that part. So if that's the case, let's go on to our first subcommittee, equestrian facilities. Do we have any update from either Julie or Mac on that?
No update from me.
Okay. I know we've got something on here about Birmingham Park cleanup day, so maybe we'll just wait till we get to new business and we can talk about that. If there are no updates, then we can talk a little bit about PR and marketing. I'll let Nan and Teresa take that.
Okay. Well, I think what I would like to do, I know we kind of want to talk about some of our goals for 2025. And I think, our big discussion last meeting in October was about we were not going to be involved in Crabapple Fest. We wanted to put our attention somewhere else. And I apologize for not having the time to talk to you about all this. It's been crazy busy at my store at Christmas. So, but I'd like to see us deliver more to the equestrian community and get it, Meet the Neighbors is great. But I'd like to see us do other things. You guys may remember I talked briefly about developing a emergency preparedness plan. And I'd like to really delve into that. When first responders are somewhere and they are not able to help the horses that we have in Milton, there are some options, and I'm going to bring someone to our meeting in January to discuss that. So that's one thing I would like to do. I would like to offer more things to regular equestrians, like maybe a de-spooking clinic, or something
Julie just had one of those, right?
something that's gonna help. Yeah, that's right. You did just do that.
Yeah.
Like, I'd like to be able to, the fire safety thing that we did. I don't think we had enough time to really get PR out there and get people really knowing about that. I'd really like to plan on doing something to give back to our equestrians. And I'm kind of, I thought about, that trailering, how to, navigate around horse trailers, and I never really put that video together. That's not really giving back. And it seems like every time we try to introduce something to the public about the equestrians like that, like the fireworks video, people go, "Oh God, it's them again." So I don't want to do those kind of things, but I think we really need to kind of get together and get out there to our local equestrians.
I have a thought. I thought about this last week, and I don't know what you think because you do the consignment shop. But what if we did, and we sponsored it, a used
Community
sale.
tax swap or something?
out on that.
They do it in Cherokee County. You know, they have and they've got leg wraps and they've got blanket. I mean, it's similar to a consignment, but I'm
No,
saying
it's not. It's junk is
Well,
what
okay,
it is.
but you know what I'm
It's-
saying.
it's
Something we could
Irish knits full
sponsor.
of shavings and stuff like
Something we
that.
could sponsor.
You're talking about almost like a swap shop or
Like a
or
swap, a tax
a
swap.
weekend, like a barn sale or just
Like
something.
Jack Arabians does one.
Yeah.
I think they do one. And I don't know. I'm just thinking something we could get our name out there and be useful and provide something. And I don't know. It's just.
As the committee chair for public relations, that's a conflict of interest for me
Oh, that's true.
personally.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna be involved in anything like that.
Okay.
But do you think, I mean, I've been in your shop a handful of times. I know you've obviously got high-end leather and saddles.
Well,
and-
yeah, I do new too.
Yeah, but no, I mean, even used, I'm just saying it's all really nice, high-end stuff. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
do you even sell used leg wraps and things that people would sell just at a yard sale or
You can
something?
come in and buy a set of 12 polos or a set of 4 polos for $9.
Okay.
I mean, my consignment stuff is 50% off of what it is when it's brand new.
I got you.
So if you've
So the
got,
same stuff that Shannon's talking about.
yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I mean, I know, like, if you look at Equestrian Exchange, I think it is, and that's kind of a mobile tax swap thing that goes, they do it in North Carolina, they do one in Florida, they do one, and people sign up for tables and nobody helps. I mean, it's funny that those things are not really successful because people don't really know how to price stuff to get stuff sold. I mean, if I'm doing a garage sale and I'm selling glass pitchers, I'm selling them for a dime. I mean, I'm not gonna try to get what they're worth. And so it'd be hard to oversee how people are gonna price that kind of stuff.
But you're not talking about a way to raise money. You're talking about just a way to get people together. Yeah. I mean, I understand the conflict. I get that. I would almost see it a little differently in that it's not necessarily people bringing out their finest, used equestrian gear. It's more of, hey, look, everybody's got I got a whole trunk full of old junk that is all horse stuff, but I would never bring it to your shop because you'd probably look at it and go, Tony, my dumpster's out back, But if it's just a way for
then
people,
you gotta ask, well, who wants that stuff?
yeah, but I mean, people might come in there and buy something for $1 versus, and it's again.
I mean, I take that stuff and I donate it to Barefoot Ranch.
Sure.
I mean, I do take it and I give it to them and they can sell it or they can keep it for their.
Well, I think more importantly
program.
is it doesn't reflect Milton. I know that sounds horrible, but Cherokee County is rural. Milton is not rural. It's not even the same game. Your tax store is upscale as a second-hand tax store because it's in Milton.
Yeah,
If it were in Cherokee County, you'd probably sell $1 leg wraps.
yeah,
So, do you see what I'm saying?
yeah, thank you.
I think from what the community is trying to reflect of our equestrian community, it's not dollar leg wraps. So I think a tax swap is not really reflective of the Milton equestrian community as a whole.
All right. I was
Good
just.
feedback.
I think though.
Thank you for saying that. Because I would agree with you.
There's no reason we couldn't do an equestrian picnic at Birmingham Park or a community trail ride.
Well, and
Or
that's.
things
we
like
should
that promote our area
We should. be
where you
doing
can have every Yahoo in town show up
Mhm.
Right.
or not in town
Mhm.
show up.
We should be, we should.
I think
be
those are
doing
more appropriate for what we
trail
want to
rides.
do.
I think one of our biggest challenges is bandwidth, because we could come up with something every month
Yeah,
in
you
theory.
could.
We could have a trail ride, we could have a picnic, we could have a hike, we could get a group and go up to Dawson Forest after deer season. There's a million things that we could do. And I think your idea as a general idea is right on point, just to get people together, right? It's
Yeah.
not so much about the quality of an item, but it's just anything. And I think this is where we need to brainstorm this stuff of just coming up with ideas to pull people together. I mean, we've seen in 2 years or 3 years, we did Meet the Neighbors, one pre-COVID. Then it got, tabled for a while, and then we've come back and done it 2 years in a row. Every year has been bigger than the year before.
Yeah.
And I think this community really looks for reasons to get together. I mean, I'm not really the one that wants to go to the pumpkin, whatever, or the Easter egg hunt at the school or whatever.
Right.
But it's still, I mean, you really don't have to work very hard in this city to put things out there for people to show up as a general rule. So I just think y'all really just keep brainstorming this stuff and let's come up with ways to get together. And again, it's everybody's busy. Everybody's got a million things going on. But the more of this we do, the more we legitimize the whole point.
Well, and that's my biggest thing is that, we have to constantly justify our existence and what are we handing back to our equestrian community? If we offered them, oh, here's a seminar on pasture management, or, here's the local vet going to come talk to you about emergency vet care, or here's, something like that. I mean, I would just like to brainstorm and try to put together other events than meet the neighbors. So put that on your.
And I think when we, at the point in our agenda, when we talk about goals for next year, I really like to focus on a lot of this stuff. It's like, how many events as a subcommittee would you guys consider doing next year? I mean, Meet the Neighbors is obviously the biggest. And right now, now that we're really not doing anything with Crabapple Fest, it's like, it's kind of our only deal, right? As far as, I mean, I think Birmingham Park cleanup is a great way to pull the community together, but that doesn't turn into usually a big crowd. But I would love
But it
to.
could.
Because
It
it's
could.
work, but it's
Could if there was
work.
a
I think
picnic.
we need to provide,
If you had food there, it would.
Maybe you had a grill out there and you cooked burgers after it was over with. Maybe it would
know
turn into
someone
If
something.
you
in the
had,
grill business.
your local bluegrass
I got
band
an
come
idea
out there and play in the
Yeah,
yard,
you can make
it
that
could
into
be a
a
thing.
I think you're right on the money there. I just think the more of this stuff we do, the better. And I think that's the whole point of this.
Well,
this discussion.
I think too, if we have something that offers, more knowledge for people, the majority of people that are moving to Milton are moving to Milton because they want a hobby farm and they've never owned horses. I mean, and that's,
There's a lot of
as,
that.
But
as a-
still, a lot of them don't own them. I mean, I think to your point on the barns, a lot of people don't own them, but they do ride them. So if there's something that's more even catered to that, so maybe it's not so much about taking care of the horse. I mean, ever step back and do anything for the children? I mean, everybody's happy to come out and let their kids see the ponies,
Mhm.
learn more about,
Mhm.
where can they take lessons? We still haven't gotten that part. We have so many riders in our community. On our website, or at least on Facebook or Instagram, we could be spotlighting a rider a month. We could do something like that, and then it draws the community in because now they see their face and, oh, I want my barn showing on there. I mean, you see that on Instagram all the time, where everybody else promotes their own barn. Well, why aren't we promoting local riders and maybe have a little story? And-
well, we tried that with Barn of the Month and it's hard to get people to want to make their places public. They,
What do you mean barn of the month?
we did Barn of the Month for what, 2 years?
Yeah,
Yeah.
where
We
if people could
struggled.
submit.
So
We-
like an equestrian story of the month. I mean, I don't know what the exact would be, but there's definitely more that we could be doing on social media that reaches out to the community and brings the people in and brings more awareness. And then those people will be more likely to come to some of these.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I would encourage y'all to,
Well, and that kind of
Brainstorm all this.
leads me to the next thing. I really, really, really would like to see that property, that Bates property that was supposed to be a athletic park that's just sitting there doing nothing. I think you guys have heard me talk about this before, and I don't even know how to get this going, but why aren't we utilizing that facility? Why isn't that facility making money for us? Why aren't we offering layovers for people traveling?
is that a
Why are we
rhetorical
not?
question or do you want to answer that?
I mean, well, kind of. I mean, there's so many things that could be done there. That would be
It's
a
money thing.
wonderful, well, yeah, that would be a wonderful
Put it this way,
opportunity
my
for people
guess,
to offer
We're on the
clinics.
record, so I won't give you my total opinion on that, but it's a money thing.
Yeah.
If someone were to buy that property and say, hey, we'll buy it as an investment, lease it back to the city of Milton, I would love to hear that somebody was interested in doing that.
Well, I guess I don't really know what the city's plan is for that. And it's probably none of my business, but,
Well, I don't think it is.
I'd like
It's your
to,
business. I
I'd
don't
like
think
to
it's a
see
secret.
what possibly, I think it could be an events facility where people could, have their wedding photos done there, or they could, which in turn
For a very
might,
large cleanup.
which in
It'd take a
turn,
big
well, that
infrastructure
house,
project.
well, yeah,
Yeah.
which in turn could lead us to.
But hey, we can pull volunteers together. There's things to be done there. It's just a money thing. I just think if you go back and look at budget, I think, it's pretty common record. If you look what they paid for it, it's a $5 million property,
Yeah.
right? And so the challenge behind that is there $5 million in the budget to turn it into an equestrian facility? I don't think so.
No. Mm-mm.
And unfortunately, unless someone's willing to come in and make an investment to retain it as such and allow the city to use it, they're at a little bit of a conundrum on the whole thing.
I
It's just
guess I
not
was-
a quick and easy
I guess I
fix.
was just kind of thinking like what they do with like a city pool, so then why can't we have some sort of push for a ring to be built at that green space, and we can charge membership, and we could, have different equestrian events there, not horse shows. But, the biggest problem with that green space has always been, oh, it's too raw land. We can't take our horses there. Oh, and then people who don't ride say, well, I've never seen a horse there.
Well, that's an interesting question. What would it take to build an arena there? Again, it's all about money, but there's a big piece of land there that people don't seem to ride on as far as just,
It's also the question of what we can and cannot build on a green space.
that's right. Use
So-
Is
it.
that used with,
It's passive. It's a passive green space.
So most of the times, when we talk about building infrastructure at a green space, it's clearing a small path. That's a walking trail that
Right.
we're not going to cement. It's going to be a natural walking trail. If we
Yeah.
then talk about building, it's potentially just what we can and cannot do on a green space.
Yeah, that would be a question to find out if
Mhm.
we would be allowed to put footing in there and create a defined.
And a rail, you'd
Yeah.
have to have fencing.
they would call that impervious.
Perhaps.
That particular park was bought with green
Green
space.
space.
It was
bond
green
money.
space,
Okay.
bond money.
So
So that you may not,
That's
may or
gonna
may
be-
not be able to do that, but
But you could do it at the Bates property.
you could
You could.
all day, right?
It's already got a ring.
It's got an arena, right? Yeah,
because
yeah, that'd be easy
Why can't they just clean it up and let us use it?
because they need to sell it for the money.
But it'll get sold a lot faster if it's
Well, I don't
cleaned up.
disagree with that. I think you're right about that.
Is it on the market?
I don't think it's on the market. I don't think they've 100%, this is just my understanding is there hasn't been an official decision made that I've heard about unless it's been discussed at a council meeting and I'm not aware of it, of what they're going to do with it yet. But I do think it's heading at some point to be sold.
be sold.
Is my
Okay.
assumption.
Well, that was just one idea I had of reaching the general public.
I mean, if there's a nonprofit out there that could raise the money to purchase that piece of property, and somehow or another allow a program to be developed there, I think that'd be great.
Yeah,
A
but the
committee
city's
can't
not going to sell it for what they paid for it.
they'll sell it for whatever the fair market value is on it.
How many acres is it?
35
30
acres,
some.
almost 40 acres.
And a lot of it's
I moved down the
floodplain.
street.
A lot of it's floodplain.
Yeah, the whole back half is.
I think it's got a ton of potential. I don't know. The houses could be dumps as far as I know. I have no idea. And it needs a haircut and a shave really bad.
Mhm.
But I think it's
Well,
got
the
a
barn,
ton of
I think the
potential.
barn probably needs more of a haircut and a shave.
But I
now.
bet there's good bones in that barn. Again, we're not going to fix this in this meeting, but trust me, I would love to see something good. And every chance I get to talk to council or whoever about it, I do.
Okay.
So I think we keep on lobbying for it. But
Well, I guess what I'm.
right up until it gets sold, it's not too late.
Yeah.
That's what I keep talking
Well,
about.
my plea to you guys is if there's any thing besides Meet the Neighbors that we could do that would help reach the public and verify our existence, I think we would be in a much better place than where we are.
I agree. Good time.
So
Anything else particular on marketing and relations before we move on?
I don't have anything, Teresa, do you?
Teresa, you got anything? Okay, it's a good conversation. All right, let's move on to farm ownership. Shannon and Carson, you guys want to give us an update?
I brought the postcard.
Cool.
Gracie, I haven't looked at it yet, sorry. I'll
Oh, look
pass it
how
up.
cute that is.
Well, I mean, and we can change everything about it.
Who did that photograph?
Google.
It was stock photo.
That's pretty good.
Except they've got flash noseband loops with no flashes on.
So what I'm gonna tell you that Greg Botello is gonna say, he's gonna say, whose photograph is that? We're gonna give credit to somebody on that photograph or they can't use it. But I think it's an awesome photograph. So if you can figure out whose photo it is.
Yeah, no, it hasn't, yeah, I can do that. actually.
Pretty cool.
You get them from Upsplash. Have you ever done that? Unsplash, Upsplash.
As the
Have
tech
you seen that?
guru, I'm just going to tell you that the loops on the Cavesons are for flash nosebands, and the nosebands are
man.
missing.
I mean, if you want a picture like that, I probably have one on my
Yeah.
phone.
Right.
Yeah.
I also have a paid Canva account, so if you needed a stock image from Canva, then you don't have to worry about where that image
There you
came
go.
from.
I love it. I think
Yeah,
it's sweet.
it's a
I
cute
mean, what are we
picture.
gonna do with it though? I mean, I guess that's our whole, I don't know.
Well, we've got several, like,
I like what you wrote on it.
we've got several people, like, there's a guy off Birmingham right now, up past, next to Blue Valley, that's like doing a total makeover of that farm. Drop that in their mailbox or hand it to them, and
Yep.
I mean, I could name you 10 different people building barns or farms right now. This is just, I would have loved to have something like this, but like, well, you
So
can
you-
tell
so-
me
Yeah,
what I need to
100%.
know,
Mhm.
so I don't have to figure it out.
Yeah,
So
if
the
you
idea of
guys
this
can
is
think of-
targeted mailing? Is it's
It's more like, hey, buddy, here you go.
Yeah. Or
Okay.
do-
I see,
can
I
we
know what
put
you're
it
going
up
through.
here somewhere? Can we put it in, like,
Put it
I would put this in my packet if
Yep.
I was selling, if I was showing somebody houses in Milton, this would go in their packet.
Yeah, you give
Mhm.
realtors,
Right.
put
So,
it
I
at JC's
mean,
desk
I guess
here.
that's what
Put a
we need
pile
to
of them out there,
brainstorm
people come in
is.
for applications and stuff?
Well, it's kind
Yes.
of like a
Yeah.
welcome wagon thing too.
Right.
You know, like, hi, you're here in Milton. We're the Milton Equestrian Committee. Glad to meet you.
Mhm, that's
What can we
great.
do to help you?
City doesn't do that, right? Some kind of welcome package or somebody, do they?
I'm not sure.
Get one.
I don't think so.
You got one?
Meal when we moved in, yeah. we
You
got-
did?
Yeah, gift cards to Love Pizza.
There you go.
Oh, you
Just
must
keep
have had a
going.
better process than I did.
So that would go in there.
It was from your realtor, or who was it from?
No, it just came in the mail. So, "Brad, welcome new neighbor." I don't know how they do, maybe because we registered.
But it was from the city?
Well, it was from different businesses in the city.
Oh,
So somehow.
That might be
somebody-
like a-
Somebody's doing a welcome
A
packet.
marketing
that's a marketing.
mailer from business.
That's pretty
group.
cool.
That
though.
might not be the city, but
Yeah,
That's
Um,
awesome.
I like it.
This
Yeah.
is basically just a vehicle to let people know that we're here. We just got to figure out where do we plant this,
Mhm.
right?
Could you also put it out on social media?
Yeah.
You could put that out there, right?
Did you create the Facebook? Who created the Facebook?
we didn't do a
didn't
Facebook
do
because
it.
there's already a group that's like Milton
What's the one
Equestrian
that you
group.
have? I thought you had a Facebook.
I was doing the Birmingham Park,
Right,
but
okay.
it was too labor intense for me and I dropped off.
There's a Milton
I'm not
Equestrian group.
administrator.
It's already got like 300 people in
Yeah.
it or something.
Yeah.
We don't need to make another one.
Yeah, I know, I'm just. a
Yeah, it's
member
on-
of that. I don't- I'm
I mean,
not
can you
in
look
it.
up?
I was thinking for some reason you did that.
No, I was. the
Posted, I'm
administrator
sure,
of
right?
Birmingham
Yeah,
Park.
I mean, we talked about that one meeting where then we looked and we're
Just
like,
getting
we don't even
private.
make
Who's
one.
the
yet.
moderator or whatever, administrator? of the
I'll have
of
to
the book?
look. I can't even remember.
I'm
But
sorry
it's not
your
very
car got
active.
broken into.
It's, you know,
I'm sorry that some dog
post
chased
a
me on the
month.
trail.
Like,
That was like,
there's not much activity and it's, I don't know,
and that wasn't a city
those
sponsored
groups either
page.
take
That was
off
something
or
Julie-
kind of get stale.
Yeah.
Could you
Oh.
send this to all the, you have that census, could you send?
Yeah, I just want to be careful what we send them because a lot of those are active. I don't want to cut you short on
No,
this
no, no, no.
postcard,
Go
but I
ahead,
want
go
to talk about, so me and Tony and Shannon have been working on this large lot incentive stuff and this kind of parlays from the postcard because, and with the census, because with the large lot incentives, like if all of us as farm owners thought, okay, what would really get me excited as an incentive? Like, we probably can't think of much. None of us are getting a
We're already
permit.
here.
Right.
We're already here. There's nothing.
Well, they're trying to build it to kind of make people stay or to incentivize current farms and new ones. And it's
Right.
like, I don't know if we need any incentives. Like if all of us thought about it, what could they do that would really say, oh, that's attractive to me and my farm? So that's a struggle.
Get rid of our property taxes.
Yeah, I was gonna say, give me a tax break.
You know, the
But the
interesting part
city
is,
taxes aren't.
the city taxes
they're
are
not.
nothing.
I
compared
know
to-
they're
Oh
not,
my
but
God,
they're
it's
still
doubled.
just another
Yeah,
layer.
Yeah.
One more
They're
thing.
another
County
layer.
it is. Fulton
Yeah.
County taxes that are.
The Fulton County taxes this year,
Oh, yeah.
Mine were,
we almost
mine were,
doubled.
mine
Oh,
were
yeah.
$7,000.
140%.
But like,
Fighting
okay,
them on it
so
right now.
Oh, yeah.
that's a good point that we could add to this postcard. And I wrote down some other stuff, but like if staff could tell people on 10 acres or more, hey, you need to put this in a cuva because we want you to stay here. But half the people I talk to, they don't know what a cuva is.
Yeah.
So if staff is saying stuff like that, or if they're saying, okay, you got to do a bioretention, but here's how you could engineer it to do it at a lake instead of an empty pond. Or
It's true.
here's your fence permit. Like I went through this. I had a curved fence down our driveway, and Scott Reese actually came by and he was like, this needs to be straight. These are all going to pop off. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. I didn't think about that. So when staff sees a fence permit, you got to draw out your fence, and sees a curved one, they could say, you might want to think about this, or your future water line. You could tee it off here if you're going to have a water trough. So I think there's incentives we could do that wouldn't be incentives. They just educating staff on what they should say on these new farms. Now, how many new farms are there? I mean, not a ton. There's probably 10 going right now being built.
Well, I think that's a decent
It's a
number.
decent amount.
Decent
I mean,
amount.
that's not one.
It's not compared to the 200 we have
Right.
Yeah, but
that aren't looking at this. But I just wanted to poll everybody here and
if that number grows 5 to 10% a year,
Well,
Oh, yeah.
maybe,
That's
maybe
small. Well, it's
the
running out of land.
incentives can be based on the people that have 5 to 9 acres.
that's what they're doing.
Because those are the people that are getting hit with the taxes.
Yes,
Thank you.
Not the Kuva people.
Yeah.
I understand.
Well, so the good incentives they have is like the covered arenas type stuff and the riding rings and not having it all the red tape.
I
on
like that one.
That's good.
Yeah.
I got in left field on some of the others, but I want to push the run-in shed one.
Yep.
It's a quick. I'm not going to give you plans. I know we're just going to build a run-in shed.
Yeah, and here are the,
Here's what it is. It's not
here are the
buffer.
minimum
Here's
requirements,
the specs.
construction
Not the
standards.
buffer. Here's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great, that's
Yep.
a good one.
It wouldn't even be an incentive. It'd just be a easier way to do it. But
I think it would be an incentive to not have to go through all the red tape of building any other structure. I mean, in theory, if you were going to build a chicken coop, you have to go get a permit.
Correct.
I mean, in theory. Now, does anyone do that? Probably not, but that doesn't mean that the requirement's not there. And so, all it takes is for somebody to go put a running shed in their front pasture without a permit, and the wrong neighbor sees it, or somebody driving by,
And
and
it's
and they
not,
make a phone call, next thing you
within-
know,
It's not within the setback.
yeah, they're showing up saying, hey, where's your permit for this shed?
Yeah.
Well, it really shouldn't be
Oh,
that
wait,
long.
this is 20 feet off your neighbor's fence.
So I think I've been lobbying pretty hard to try to get, and this, goes to some of the things Greg was sharing with us earlier. I've been pushing pretty hard to try to get us more on the front end of these large lot incentives, to come up with the actual incentives and then work with staff on the feasibility of the incentive, as opposed to us hearing about the incentives and giving our
After the
thoughts
fact, yeah.
after the fact.
Mhm.
Because, and again, this is nothing but praiseworthy of our staff, but, planners aren't farm people, right? They understand planning and they understand zoning and codes and things like that. But unless you come from that background, or unless you're living in that world, it's really hard to understand that, And you came up with the example I've used 3 times in the last week. Just because you drive a truck with a diesel engine doesn't mean you know how to build a diesel engine, right? I mean, it's
I'm not asking my wife to work on my diesel engine.
Yeah,
Because
so-
she'd be like, I don't know what.
Yeah, I mean, but I think it's real important. I mean, this is the knowledge base of what these incentives should look like. And I'm pushing pretty hard to try to
I think the
get,
riding arena is great.
I think it's a good one.
Yeah.
I think the
I
sheds
think
are a
the
good
shed's
one.
a good one.
I think building an accessory structure in front of your house, if you've got 5 acres in front of your house, shouldn't be that big of a deal. But in the city of Milton, you can't build anything in front of your house, right?
Right.
But if you've got 15 acres, it shouldn't be as big of an issue. So I think there's a lot of things that we could be the think tank on these things. And so, I don't know. I think the presentation, I've heard mixed reviews on Shuba's presentation. I think it was good to have that presentation, because I think it's gotten a lot more people talking about this stuff than just our committee and her going out and soliciting input from individuals. So I've got to think that, come the new year, that this will get a lot more attention. So I appreciate what y'all are doing on it. I think
Yeah,
it's been-
good work,
It's been
guys.
so good.
Well, and if everybody could just think about it, like, okay, what would be something that would really make a difference?
Yeah, I agree. I think everybody in this, up here could come up with what you think are real incentives.
For new and current.
Yeah,
Tax
absolutely.
caps on 5 to 8 acres.
They
Yeah.
just need to right, left, justify.
I mean, you know,
Take an impact fee off.
Yeah.
but you know, like,
Can screen them.
The text is.
I heard somebody say if you've got less than 10 acres and you want to try to get a Cuba, you just got to get your property as, designated as a certified
It's
wildlife.
not
I
that
already
easy.
tried that.
It's not
It's
that
not
easy.
that easy?
Doesn't work. I was in their office.
Even if you have 10 acres and your house is on it, they won't. they
They'll
won't
take
get
an acre out
They'll
for
take
your
an
house.
acre
Yeah,
out.
they
for
take
your
your.
That's what I
the
mean.
acre out of
11 in
your
theory,
house.
right?
That's right.
Yeah.
It is.
So-
'cause they-
And they're very strict on that.
But if you got 8 or 9 acres, I mean,
We were told
and you're willing to preserve that, I mean, it's like,
Like an orchard on there, so we were told to go that route.
You can try, but I've tried.
yeah.
Emily, is there a way to
Production,
find
you
out what
name
we
it.
can do with this as far as up here?
They said
City
10
Hall.
acres or more.
Well, you can
Or
for sure
unless
put
it's
them, the
like-
lobby is
there's a
an
guy that
absolute
sells
yes.
Maybe we put it up, start there.
flowers or
At
something.
JC's
That's his
desk
whole
is a
business.
yes.
Like, it's a big income. He's only got
And I
2
think if you
acres.
want to
He's
give a
got
stack to community development
lady
for them
that
to
does
have
that.
on hand, they
Yeah.
can keep in their
Income's high
trucks.
enough.
Pass out to
So
anybody who
he's
they
like,
think would
man,
help. I think that's probably the best
You
place
can
to
show
start.
us.
We also have, you can
Bona
see
fide,
if they
bona fide
fit
ad.
in there. We have a little kiosk
like
that's
to
out in the plaza
Mhm.
with little
They don't like
slots
to
for
lose
like
all those tax
brochures.
dollars.
They fit there,
That's
you
what
can
they're
put them
doing.
there.
His job, he told me.
Okay.
So it doesn't give you incentive to keep your property.
They don't really care down there in Fulton County.
So Carson and Shannon, you guys have anything else?
Okay.
No, that's it.
Shannon, you got anything else? You good? Okay. All right. Well, thanks for the update on this. So if nothing else, let's move to our next agenda item, which is new business. Emily, you want to talk about the 25 meeting schedule?
Got it. Teresa, if you'll take one down, pass it around.
Take one down, pass it around.
I know, I almost started singing, but I like you guys. Listen to that. So I have laid out on this calendar, the yellow is our regular meetings, the green are our special events, if you will. As our bylaws state, we meet on the third Wednesday of every month. So 11 out of 12 months, that was an easy one to do. In February, we reach a few issues with President's Day being on the 17th.
We need
So-
one more.
Here, take mine.
Yeah, and we're just getting these, I'm sorry to ask you to start over
I got it,
again.
Dan, it's in here.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry, they were stuck together.
Never mind. The February date of the 19th is a council meeting because President's Day is on the 17th.
Okay.
We can't push to the next week because that's Planning Commission's day. So I propose what we did it this year as well.
Mhm.
Meet a week earlier, meet on the 12th instead of the 19th.
Okay.
So we'll have to take a vote, if you will, for the regular meetings to approve that agenda.
Let me check
Okay.
my calendar.
Can we go through the whole calendar and then take a vote on all the
Absolutely.
changes?
Yes.
Is that okay? All right, so the first one is the 12th. All right.
That's it. That's the only change.
Oh, that's the only change?
Every other month is
Oh.
the third Wednesday.
Mhm.
And what's the May 10th thing? Is that the,
Yep.
That's
So
Meet the
green
Neighbors.
is your special events. March 8th is that Birmingham Park cleanup day that we decided on at the October meeting.
Okay.
May 10th is Meet the Neighbors.
all right. So the only change is the February 12th.
That's it.
All right. So can I get a motion to change our February 2025 meeting from the 19th to the 12th?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
So I have a first from Ms. Buckner, a second from Ms. Shannon to change our regular meeting of the Milton Equestrian Committee for February 2025 to the 12th. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, that's changed.
Excellent. Okay. The other date that we haven't discussed yet is your update to council. This past year, you guys did it at a work session in March. The difficult part is the work session in March is May 10th or March 10th, excuse me, which is 2 days after the Birmingham Park cleanup day. So I don't know if that affects you at all. I don't know if you are like me and I like things to be spread out.
When's
But
the next one after the 10th?
the next work session or council meeting?
Work session.
Work session is April 21st.
That's a better date.
That might be better. A
Yeah.
little extra time. Yeah. What does everybody think about April 21st for our update to city council? That's a work session.
I make a motion that we choose, is it Easter? Oh, it's Easter break.
That whole week? Okay.
Well, I'm not sure if you want to go earlier and do February 10th.
That's the day after Easter.
Yeah, I'd prefer not to do February 10th. So we can either do March 10th or we can do April 21st. Yeah, I mean, I don't.
Does
And
it,
on a work session, or are you, does it have to be a work
Well, the
session?
good thing about a work session is that my understanding is there's the potential for more back and forth with council as opposed to a regular meeting is really not. And my guidance I've received in the past is that a work session will give us a little more dialogue with council
Okay.
as opposed to a regular meeting. So I don't have a problem with the 21st.
I don't either.
I mean, as long as we've got enough people to make the presentation, I would prefer to do that. I mean, is everybody out of town that week, or is that's a whole day break, whole week break?
But that's the day after Easter.
Right, because we're still out of school.
Okay. So you guys out of town? Okay. Well, we can go to May. I mean, I don't,
May 12th, which is 2 days after Meet the Neighbors.
well, I don't care about that.
I do.
Dan might have,
I have an issue with that.
All right, well, how about let's have a motion on a date and then we'll see if it passes. How about that?
well, I make a motion that we choose April 21st.
Okay, I have a motion on the 21st. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay.
Y'all are so bashful. What's
What
up
is
with
up?
this?
All right, so I have a motion and a second that we do the update to council on April 21st. Any discussion on that? It might be the first time we've ever had to take a vote on anything.
Get the iPads.
Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's okay.
One opposed.
One
Okay.
opposed. Okay. Well, you will have obviously a lot of time to figure, well, not figure it out, but I'm just saying even just to have a part in the presentation to, for input and everything. So
So April 21st.
April 21st.
So are we still meeting that month, the week before?
We'll meet on the 16th.
I know, but like years past, we said we won't, I mean, I don't care, we can meet. Probably be good to meet a week before.
It'd probably be a good meet a week before. Because if the presentation is on the 21st, when do you do your dry run?
I do the mock on the 15th.
On the 15th? Okay. So you do the mock on the 15th. If there's any tweaks or anything we need to talk about,
Back on that Wednesday.
we can talk on Wednesday,
What time's that council meeting? 6?
6 o'clock. Yep. All right, we're good. So that's the date. What else you got?
I think if we can just get a general vote to approve our 2025 agenda.
Sure. Can I get a motion to approve our 2025 agenda with changes made?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Plummer,
Second.
second by Ms. Shannon. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. The meeting schedule for 2025 has been approved. Nice work, everybody. Okay, the next and I believe final item on our agenda tonight is just a very brief discussion on setting goals for 2025. I mentioned this to several of you that weren't like out of the country this past week, which is amazing. There's more than one of you out of the country. It's like, how could that happen?
What?
He was in China when I was trying to get you in Greece. I'm like, I'm clearly missing
We're
out on
worldly
something.
around here.
We're all over the place.
Lost in the
I was
mail,
like-
and I've never been more
I was like, I'm
offended.
going to Costco today. Does that matter? Anyway,
I'm going to
so I had a couple of conversations with folks, but in just being transparent with our committee, I feel like the last few months, I mean, with a couple of exceptions of some really good things we're working on, I feel like our meetings have been kind of flat lately. I just don't feel like there's been a whole lot. And there's nothing wrong with a quick and efficient meeting sometimes. I think that is fine. But, every month Emily will reach out 2 weeks or so in advance and say, hey, I need agenda items by next week or whatever the deadline is. And a lot of times, guys, nobody has anything. And sometimes that's okay, right? I mean, sometimes you just don't have anything you need to discuss, and there's nothing wrong with that, which is why it's not a problem to cancel a meeting from time to time. But it would be nice if most months we have agenda items, right? And so I just wanted to kind of set the stage that I'd like our January meeting to really be full of goals for the year. And we've got, a month to think about it, but I would love to see thoughts on how this committee is structured, We've got 3 subcommittees. If you guys think it needs to change, look a little different, consolidate some things, now's the time to bring that up and think about it. And then once we come into session in January, I believe, Emily, you can tell me if I'm wrong, the January meeting is that we elect officers again for the new year. So that'll happen. But I think we need to establish our goals and have those in writing for our first meeting. So I would encourage everybody to give that some thought, and let's make the next year a really productive year and even further entrench ourselves in this community. So any thoughts, questions
I have an agenda item to add.
on this particular agenda item or something totally
No, for January. So I'm already,
different? Okay.
I've got stuff to send your way.
Okay, well, perfect. I guess if anybody has thoughts on our subcommittees, if you like them, if you don't, if you have ideas on making changes, I would encourage you to give that some thought, and let's, talk before our next meeting and figure it out. So, any questions?
Did we ever make plans on having different members go to different meetings of other?
I think Shannon
We had
went to
talked
one, didn't you?
about
No, I was going to go to one.
Oh, didn't mean to call you out. Sorry.
Thanks all.
You're at least going to go.
I was gonna go.
I think we kind of all
It was the
dropped the
Deerfield
ball on
one.
that whole
Yeah.
program.
Yeah.
So,
I was gonna go too.
You mean going to like the BR?
yeah, going to the
Trail-
other,
like trail
going to
committee.
the other
Public
committee.
Yeah, the other
Public
committees.
Well, you could get, like BZA had a big farm come through last night and they approved it, but
But here's
don't
the
know if-
thing,
if
how
y'all
do
would have
you
been able
know
to
all
say
of this
anything.
is going on?
well, there's a
'Cause
good friend of mine that was.
I don't even know what's going
Well,
on.
it was a,
So I don't even know what to be concerned about.
the initial conversation though
Good
was
question.
public meetings for public input. So like when we were doing the branding stuff, me or Tony went to those, and like I was there with a few other people being like, you can't do this, this, and this. This is ridiculous. You have to leave the horse. We're not making it rainbow. We want it, very similar to that and buttoned up.
Right.
So
Should we add something to our agenda every time we meet about like updates that are relevant? So that, is there a way we can be more in the know? You know what I mean? Like, to your point, it just makes me feel better that I'm not the only one that doesn't know what's going on.
I never know what's going on, and I thought
Yeah,
I was
I
in
don't
the
either.
know on most everything.
And
I never
Carson,
know
you
what's
may
going
not
on in
even
the
think it's
city.
relevant, but it might be. You know what I mean? Like, if more people know about
we
it.
had gone last night. The only thing we could have done is a comment in support. But like, it wasn't, I don't think they were going to decline it. They're actually, BZA was like, this is what we want in Milton. So we're going to give you a variance for these 5 run-in sheds that you built without a permit and let you build your house.
But Julie, are you, when you asked the question, are you thinking that someone should be assigned to each other committee? Not necessarily to go to all their meetings, but just to know what's going on?
Or maybe not assigned to a specific committee, but if we can just know when the other committee meetings are and agree as a group, so one of us will show up there. It might help us understand what else is going on in the city, because the horse community as a whole is sort of segregated from everyone anyway.
Yeah, sure.
So it would help everyone on all of us as a group, if we knew what was going on in zoning, if we knew what was going on in green space, if we
Right.
knew what was going on in the arts committee. Because if the arts committee is having a show, we might be able to get some equestrian artists to go out there and do something.
Like, I'm
with the
assuming that's
committee.
public knowledge, right?
Oh, yeah, they
It's
posted.
it's all on the website. So if you go to the website in the top right corner, there is a tab that
As a
says.
working person, I'm rarely on the website. just
Same, and
saying.
so-
I understand, but it's difficult with so many agendas and so
Right.
many things that are happening. It's hard for either me as a liaison or a city to be able to tell you guys each and everything.
Sure.
So we do our best. I post my agenda a week before. BZA Planning Commission post it anywhere between 3 days to a week beforehand. And it's all in one simple page on the website. So if you're looking for, I'm on the agendas and minutes page right now, and I can see Planning Commission, PRAP, you guys, BZA, Council, every agenda meeting, every item. And it tells you exactly when and where they're meeting. And even if you can't be there in person, you can pull up the live. You're live right now.
So how many, you may not know, this. How many committees and boards are there?
We have a lot. Hang on, I can count. BZA, DRB, MEC, PRAB, Planning Commission, MSAC, MTAC, 7,
Well,
Council, 8.
we've got 7 members of this committee, and there's 7 other boards or committees, right? So, I mean, I'm all about delegating and assigning things, but if everybody owns one committee, doesn't mean you got to go to the meeting, but maybe you pull up the agenda and you look at it and you go, hey, there's something really good on this agenda. I mean, you might look at the PRAB meeting and go, they're not talking about anything that we have really any impact on. So great. But if you do pull it up and you go, hey, they're looking at building a baseball field next to this farm, which we had that discussion. The equestrian committee probably wants to at least know about that, right? So maybe everybody owns one committee. Again, if you see something good on it, go to the meeting, or if you can't, call and say, hey, can you go? I can't go. Or watch the meeting, but at least own pulling up the agenda before the meeting, review it, and make a judgment call whether or not it's something that we need to know about.
What if we,
Because otherwise, one person's going to get stuck pulling up 7 agendas every month and having the
right.
responsibility.
And I mean, some
You
of
know?
them, I'll be honest, PRAB's agenda will likely never,
Probably not.
What's PRAB?
Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec.
Oh,
Yeah, sports and stuff.
Oh.
Probably not.
That'd
I
be
mean,
something Mac and I would
no.
be interested in because we're in equestrian facilities. So PRAB might be something on
Mhm.
my interest level.
Yeah.
mhm.
Well,
they're
and
the
you're plugged
ones-
into youth sports and stuff.
They're
so
the parks.
probably a great guy to look at that, you know? Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
agree. 'Cause, yeah, you're right. I mean, facilities kind of falls in there anyway.
Yeah.
So perfect, you know? But, and you know, you'd probably be good to look at the BZA, or you'd look at DRB, or, you know what I'm saying? I mean, we could,
So my
I look
only-
at green space. I mean, it doesn't matter. We just pick one, you know?
if somebody, like last night, if we see that it is something and it's probably going to have some conflict or pushback, I think need to be some communication between us.
Just some
of saying-
collaboration
because
to say, can
what
somebody
I'm
go?
saying, what if we sent a letter saying MEC supports
Yeah.
this variance? Now, we got to make sure we're protecting our board and,
Yeah, and I don't know how that works if we were to put something in writing and send it as an official support. I mean, I don't know.
but there's a lot of people trying to get barns into
No, I get it.
compliance that are kind of like, hey, I moved here, the barn's
I
built in
think we would need to
70s.
understand, Emily, from a procedural perspective, if we are allowed to voice an opinion at the BZA meeting in support of an application. I don't know, maybe it's a non-issue, but I could see somebody coming back saying,
Yeah,
you can't do that.
it happened at mine.
Yeah?
When I stood up and they weren't going to approve mine because somebody said, you can make this work by putting your barn in the middle of your pasture. Somebody that doesn't understand horses,
Yep.
right? There happened to be a vet. Were you at that? No, you weren't there. There happened to be a vet in the crowd and he stood up and he's like, that's a bad idea.
A vet?
Wow.
Veterinarian. Stood up, he's like, that's a bad.
Well,
idea."
no, but what I'm saying is, if, let's say, I was at that meeting and I didn't know you, and you were trying to put your barn in the pasture. I don't know that I could stand up there and say, I'm Tony Rich, I chair the equestrian committee for the city, and we are in support of this application. I don't know if we could do that.
Yeah, I don't know that we could do that
don't know.
either.
We
I
need
think you legally could, I use the word legally, I don't know if that's right.
procedurally. whatever.
Procedurally, I'll take it. Reach out to the chair of that committee and say, hey, we noticed that you had a barn or this, it's upcoming on your agenda. Should you have any questions or need an equestrian committee perspective, we would be happy to give that. So then that way you're going through the chair. It's kind of if
Or even
PRAB
if
had a
they
question
don't
for you
want
guys,
our
they're probably
opinion,
going to
we
come
can
through you
still show up
first.
Potentially. I just want to make
But are
sure.
you going to say anything?
I just want to make sure that if we gave an opinion, whether it's in writing or on the record verbally, would that create an issue with our charter as a city-sponsored organization for us to give an opinion? And would we have to get all the committee members to give opinion on something before we put out a committee-wide statement? I don't know. I'm just,
That sounds like work.
let me back up 4 steps. I think you're right on the money. I think we do need to get involved because I don't know what's going on either. Unless it's on Bethany Way
Right.
and I get fired up about it, I wouldn't have a clue what's going on Birmingham Highway. But it could be something that we as a committee and us members ought to know about. So I think why don't we just come up with
I do think it'd be appropriate if you happen to be at a meeting and you stand up and you say, I am a member of the Milton Equestrian Committee.
Yeah.
And I support you in this regard.
Right.
I think you could stand up as your own
I
person.
wouldn't think that should be a
and-
problem.
And label who you are.
Yeah.
And it
But
doesn't.
then the question is, am I
reflect the-
speaking as a citizen or am I speaking
You're
as a
speaking
committee
as a
member?
citizen, of
Yeah.
course, but you're also a citizen with a little chutzpah because you've got a committee that you're a
Nancy
part
got
of.
chutzpah.
So, you know, I
Right.
think that helps for the other people on the other
Yeah.
committee that you're standing in front of. At least they go, oh, this person does know what they're talking about because they sit on the committee.
We just got to be careful. Like a lot of times BZA will have all the neighbors sign, the applicant will have the neighbors sign ordinance of it. And then we're showing up saying, no, we think this should be put through for this barn 5 feet from the property line. We got to be careful. We're not
Well, I mean,
putting
Whose
ourselves
toes
in a
you're
bad
stepping
light.
on.
Yeah, I get it. well, every time you put yourself out there, you're either going to have somebody liking you or not. So
I wouldn't
Not
be
really.
careful about that at all,
I'm not
because
too worried
honestly,
about it.
what you're saying is the neighbors are being unreasonable.
Yeah.
You're actually supporting the homeowner,
Yeah.
the barn owner, because you're saying your neighbors are being unreasonable by
Right.
standing up. You as a person are more than capable of doing
did
that.
were the neighbors last
That
night
doesn't
supportive?
reflect on the
Yeah, oh,
committee
yeah.
at all.
So I
He
don't,
had 6
Yeah, but
of
if you're
them.
speaking as a person, you can't drop your MEC credentials.
Yes, you can.
you can't. I mean, they might say, well, are you speaking as a committee member or as a citizen? And
And you
you'd have-
say, no, I'm speaking as
Yeah.
an educated citizen.
Yeah.
I like it.
Do you want to put structure on this or do you want, I can work with Emily and try to come up with a
I can help you. I mean,
Okay.
I don't want to be, I'm not in charge, so I don't want to
well, I don't
be the
need-
person
I'll
that's
put you in
telling
charge.
everybody what to do, but I'm just
Why
thought,
don't you and I?
I just
and
thought it
Emily-
would be a good
let's work on
idea.
A little outline on how this can work, because I think it's a really good idea. And I think to educate our members so we know what's going on,
I
because,
mean, I'm not looking for more things to do, but I
I know.
kind of think it's important.
yeah, but this kind of
So-
stuff, I don't think it'd take a whole lot of effort. I think we could put a structure.
Yeah, I
around it.
mean, I think it would be as simple as you read over the meeting
In
minutes.
the know.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before you come.
Yeah.
And that might
But
just
I'd
be a
love to
different
know
bullet,
who's
like
the barn.
updates that might be
Yeah.
irrelevant.
Well, if you know, next Tuesday night, they're getting ready to have this, application for a variance, and it's something that this committee is or should be interested in, then, we just put it out there and make sure everybody's aware of it and
I
we
think
can
that's
figure it
good.
out. So that's cool. Thank you.
I mean,
think that's really
I'm
good.
assuming some past meeting minutes are longer than ours, but none of them are crazy, right?
I don't think so. I think sometimes planning commission meetings can go a little long. I would say 2 to 3 hours sometimes.
But again, I'm more interested in
Realistically.
the agenda of what's coming up in the next meeting so that we can, if we need to show up to the meeting or we need to put something out in writing, we can do that before they actually hear the application, So,
But
I
she
think
was
that's-
saying like what planning might do 3 to 5 days before. Got to be moving
You
quick.
just got to be kind of quick on it. So, all right, we'll work on that. This is really good.
Or just have Tom say, this might interest y'all. You might be saying that a lot.
If it's on PRAB, he'll for sure say it if it's happening.
Not Tom, who's BZA?
Michael,
Michael. But they get barns every month.
Yeah.
Bringing them into compliance.
they do. Okay, this is really good.
I mean, would it make sense to get the meeting minutes sent to all the other committees in your inbox, just to make it easy?
I mean, it's on the website. So
The
probably,
agenda, it wouldn't be the
it
minutes.
truly is, if you go to miltonga.gov,
Yeah.
it's agendas and minutes in the top right corner. It would
I
probably
think
be
I
fast.
think we're going to ultimately get to a point where everybody has one committee that
I
you're,
think that's the best.
and I mean, and all you got to do is once a month, you just got to go out there and look at the agenda before the meeting and say, is there anything of interest to as a committee? And the answer is 9 times out of 10 with a lot of committees going to be no. But then all of a sudden, if there's one that's, some farm is trying to do something, then we need to raise it up and talk about it and be prepared to show up. So, but I don't think that'll be hard to do. And that way, one person's not responsible for sending a bunch of documents to everybody. You might be responsible just for the PRAB or something, and that's it. And just look at it once a month, and it won't be that much time, which seems to be the biggest challenge for everybody in here. So,
As the committee chair, would you be willing to do that? Would you be willing to look at those agendas and?
well, there's going to be
and
7.
delegate?
I think I think I'll have one just like you guys will.
Oh, okay.
Everybody will have one committee / I might end up with trails or I don't care, whatever it is.
Okay.
And then we'll just look at it every month.
Or could that be a different, well, anyway, could that be a different subcommittee by itself, just communications?
Maybe, maybe.
That's what I was thinking, because
Okay. Yeah, it's not a bad idea. Yeah, a liaison with the other committees.
Communications
I
Committee?
don't think that's a bad idea at all. That could be a different committee. That's why I said earlier, if you guys have ideas on how to slice and dice this thing,
Mac, you want to take that on?
Yes.
I
could
mean,
be
I
yours.
just feel like I'm the one sort of, the neophyte here. So I'm just trying to figure out what would add value. And I constantly feel like I'm not really in the know on what's going on.
Yeah.
I'm always listening, trying to figure out, okay, where can I add value,
I think that'd be cool. So I'm all about that. Let's chat about it and figure it out, and let's put some structure around it and place it. We had a committee member a few years ago who I think the world of, and he had so many great ideas, but he had no time to implement anything. He come up with this long list of good ideas. And it was like, well, who's going to do that? It's like, oh, I don't know, So anyway, I always tell people, if you come up with a good idea, you just got to be willing to own it, and implement it. So, all right, anything
I
else?
mean, I
guys?
can read and sometimes I'll comprehend.
I know. Anything else? Anybody has any comments, questions? If not, are there any other agenda items before we adjourn? Good. I would love a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All right, Mac and who said that?
Teresa?
Teresa. All right.
I'll
All in
second it.
favor?
Aye.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yeah.
Merry, merry, happy, happy.
Great.
Where were you?
We
So-
started off in Athens,
I have a
we went over to Crete, and then we went up to
Did Paul?
Thessaloniki. It was a sister's trip, me and my
Okay.
sister went. And I have family in Thessaloniki.